What is going on, gamers? Ladies and gentlemen, episode 38. Hype in the chat. We have a
Boy, boy,
banana.
boy.
We have a
Hi,
banana
boy.
with us today. Um, very special guest. What's going on, guys?
We
Don't like a
like
banana,
it,
you know?
honestly. Yeah, I'm just kind of enamored slightly by what I'm seeing. So, do you juice bananas?
You know what's funny? Banana might be like my least favorite fruit.
Damn. You gotta
It is a
put that
berry.
on.
You
What's
know?
up, Mute? What's up, Cat?
It is a berry.
Unlike a strawberry, a banana is
Yeah.
a berry.
Oh my god, it's a nana berry.
Fun fact.
Banana berry.
So what's going on, guys? How you been? We've been through 2 tournaments again. I think we only put the winners for the last one up. Who won the one before that? I believe that was Mott's, correct? Yeah. Event number 3, Mott's came in first with Legend, followed by Falsey and Glorify, and then last week, or this week, I guess, Oob took it with
The Legend.
Mott's and Shaft coming in second and third.
The legend himself.
Hell yeah.
It was spicy. We had a couple of matches on Friday that went absolutely wild. So it was a lot of fun.
It always is.
It was lots of fun.
Interesting.
Way, yeah. It's a lot that's been happening over the last couple of weeks, though. There's a lot going on in the world.
That's for sure.
How have you been, Justin? How's your?
How have I been?
Yeah, how's? You always ask us how we are, and I feel like
I'm tired, dude. I'm just
fair.
Talking to people for Cracked and then getting my ass kicked at work is kind of a lot, but it is what it is. The classic combo, exactly. Definitely got to reschedule side quest for sure. I am interested in this acquisition that you guys have presented today.
Getting right into it, yeah. There's big news in the gaming world, and over the last couple of years, the word of the day for a few years has been acquisitions. Obviously, we had Microsoft come in and do a big old move on taking Activision Blizzard and Bethesda under their wings, and that for the most part has seemed to have done pretty well for them. And Microsoft have been quite gracious as well. Those I believe those games are still allowed to release on PlayStation and Sony platforms. Again, I'm sure someone in the chat will correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I'm aware, we've not seen any stagnation in that. But as of literally 4 days ago, a report was released in which Sony have decided to dip their toes into the acquisition game, and they have their eyes set on From Software. Now, if you've been living under a rock for the last few years, From Software are the developers behind games, just little games that you might not have heard of, like Dark Souls and Elden Ring and Bloodborne. And
what are those games? Sorry.
Yeah. If it doesn't have the word rivals or ether in it, Quang has no idea what it's about.
You're too generous. I don't even know what you're talking about.
But they are very, very difficult games. You, I see you in the chat as well. Don't worry, we'll get to that later. But yeah, Sony have sort of put in an offer. Now, Sony already owns part of From Software. I believe they own reports are showing about 14% of the company's shares. Because there are some FromSoft exclusives for PlayStation. Obviously, Bloodborne is PlayStation exclusive, and Demon Souls that came out a couple of years ago now is also a PlayStation exclusive. You can't get those on Xbox, but all the other major games like Elden Ring, Sekiro is a big one. Dark Souls obviously are all available on Microsoft's platforms. They're available on Steam. But if this acquisition goes through, which it hasn't yet, but I believe the company has gone out of the way to acknowledge the offer has been made, and I believe negotiations are under wraps. We're not seeing any figures or anything yet. It's all kept very hush hush. It could potentially affect how these very beloved games are released, because obviously we know Sony are a lot more protective over their IPs. It was only in the last few years, I think the first really big one in recent years was No Man's Sky, which obviously started as a PlayStation exclusive and eventually came over to the Game Pass and to Steam, after things really started picking up. So it's not unheard of for Sony to release their games on other platforms. But we are seeing that there are some that are sort of either delayed release on Steam and Epic and other launches, and just aren't released on Xbox at all. God of War had a delayed release. Spider-Man 2 still hasn't been released on Steam. That happens at the beginning of 2025. Astrobot is another one. These sort of new IPs and these big IPs that are either staggered releases or just straight up not released on any other platforms. My question, I guess, to the cast is, what do we see Sony doing in this instance? Is there a chance that Xbox is saying goodbye to FromSoft?
Ooh.
I think, honestly, as much as I hate to say it, I think they're okay with. I think Sony, if anybody, has the formula for acquisitions when it comes to making them exclusive at one period. So then in the next period, they could be like, oh, hey, this is actually available not on PlayStation. So they just get an extra wave of money. And I think they just rinse and repeat that.
I
They
wouldn't
have
be
done that.
surprised.
That
That's
is very
Sony
true.
right there.
Yeah.
That
I think
Mm.
my big concern is the Helldivers controversy we had this year that kind of has me looking at Sony with a little bit of bad taste, because for those who don't know, obviously Helldivers 2, very successful game this year. Very, very successful game this year. Did very well across social media and all platforms. But it is a PlayStation game. It is a Sony game. And Sony tried to push an instance where you needed a PSN account, even if you owned the game on Steam, to play the game, which everybody hated. Now, Sony have gone back on that, and they have made it so that you don't need a PSN account. But what they did do, which I believe actually Pirate Software was the first one to really call them out on it when it first came out, is you can no longer buy Helldivers 2 in territories that do not support PlayStation Network. And that is a confirmed thing that happened. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but it was as of a couple of months ago when I last checked it. So Sony been rubbing me the wrong way recently. I can't lie. Like they make great games. They make great games. I love Astrobot. Astrobot's amazing. But I don't know. I have questions. I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, sometimes I don't really know how to feel about these things. I mean, there are some situations where I'm thinking to myself, is this just the future that we're moving into, or is this a sneaky move by a company trying to see if they can get away with it? And we have the power to stop them from getting away with it. Um,
Do we
yeah,
though?
it's
Do we have the power? That's the
and
question.
yeah, maybe we don't. I think there has been a theme. There have been things that we've discussed in previous episodes about decisions that these people are making at the top, and them frustrating gamers. But then we always fall back on, well, shit, what can we do about it? Except soapbox a little bit and pray that something can happen. And that's a scary thing to think.
Yeah.
To think I could be frustrated about this this change that you're making. That's almost I don't even know how to classify it, but it's clearly greedy, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, what are you gonna do? I mean, you love the game, don't you, kid? You love the, don't you, kid? Yeah, yeah, come buy more. But they're so fun. Take my wallet. It's just it sucks to feel like you could potentially be one of those chokeholds.
Yeah. I think a big issue we kind of have with stuff like this is whether it's morally right or wrong, whether you disagree with it or you agree with it or you don't care. That is the issue. The vast majority of consumers who do go through the gaming industry don't give a shit because they don't have time to give a shit. It's something we bring up a lot. It's like obviously we are all very informed because we have this information come across us quite a lot, so we get to know the how. But as big as the gaming industry is, gaming news is not mainstream, and so a lot of controversy kind of just gets lost in the wind. I mean, look at Dragon Age of Aelgard. Um, Obviously a game that has been labeled as just the wokest of woke games ever. I've not played it. I've not watched much on it. I don't have opinion on Dragon Age of Elgard. Dragon Age was never my thing. I was a Mass Effect baby. What can I say? Um, I prefer my aliens and weird hand monsters. But as much as people were trying to boycott Veilguard, for it being too woke and it being this, that, and the other, and some genuine concerns that I think are valid in sort of writing, and some others that I think are less valid. But majority of people just bought the game and played it, and BioWare made their money. And you were looking at concurrent players, especially for the first week, and it was looking like 70,000-80,000 people concurrent.
I mean,
Like,
basically the same thing happened with the Harry Potter stuff, right?
yeah, for arguably the opposite reasons. People saying it wasn't, it was the other end of the spectrum where it was, obviously a franchise made by a person who is publicly quite a piece of shit. That much I do know. But people were trying to boycott the game, and the majority of people didn't give a fuck. And I did play Hogwarts Legacy. You know what? It was fine. It, I don't think it was anything special. I don't think it was the game itself was fine, a little repetitive and a bit of collectathon, but I'm a completionist, so
Sure.
I'm kind of okay with that. That's kind of my
Sure.
type of game.
I like
play
collectathons.
so, but yeah, I guess is there anything that I guess that is the ultimate question. Is there anything we can do, or is the market so big and there's so many voices that we'll just sort of get drowned out in the noise and
Well,
we can't stop the direction?
sure. I mean, we can kind of look at the positives, right? If in the acquisition, which would be that FromSoft now has a lot more money to play with. In general, being backed by Sony, being owned by Sony, generally means that you can make a bigger game theoretically, right?
Okay.
Um, and From Software throughout makes good quality games.
Undeniably.
could also mean our long-awaited Bloodborne remaster, maybe, or even a sequel or something. You know, like
Quake just manifesting stuff now. He's
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then all of a sudden, Half-Life 3 comes out,
Oh, okay. Now
and
you're
We
getting a
already
little far.
have no. We
Yeah.
have
Now we're
Half-Life
talking.
3. We have Half-Life 3. It's called Half-Life Alex. It's canon and it continues the story. So that does count. We have Half-Life 3 now. I'm gonna die on this hill.
then Goku's gonna come to Smash, and it's all gonna be good. No,
Wait, what?
but ultimately, because From
You had
Software
me at
as
Half-Life.
yeah, because From Software is a company that makes good games historically, having a player, it's not like they're changing hands per se. They're just being bought out by Daddy Warbucks a little bit, right? It's not a Rare situation where Nintendo's like, we don't want Rare anymore, and gave them to Microsoft, which the changing of hands can always be a little bit awkward. So I mean, if the theoretical positives are From Software has a lot more money to make good games, will they probably be PlayStation exclusive? Probably. Are people going to be upset about it? Probably. Do I think Xbox needs to be worried? Yes, for sure.
Mm.
I think that's going to be the big thing, right? I think Xbox as a company who kind of did away with the exclusives model.
That's the thing. Are they going to start bundling exclusives with PlayStations again?
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
because as far as as far as my knowledge goes, most people who want to play the PlayStation exclusives already own a PlayStation, right? For Spider-Man, is the one that comes to mind. I know there's others that my brain has just wiped.
Bro, I listed a whole load of fucking PlayStation exclusive earlier. God,
I
you didn't
know.
even
I
listen
know.
to me.
No, I know. That's why, like I said, my brain just wiped it. Like you started listening, my brain was like, "Yep, yep, yep." I haven't played that one. Yep, yeah. But
Tacos.
yeah, tacos.
You just start thinking about tacos randomly.
Jesus Christ.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, we can be hopeful that From Software, like I said, makes good games. And having more money generally means the bigger capacity to continue making the games that you're making. Also allows you to have a little bit of a safety net, which From Software likes experimenting with those safety nets. And that if there's a company that I would like to just pump a bunch of money into, despite the moral implications of it, I think From is the company to do that with. They're especially because they like to do interesting things in their games, and letting them be a little bit weirder, I think, is a good thing. Um, and I also, in the general scheme of how people purchase games, I don't think it changes much. I don't think this isn't like, oh, we're setting a precedent for XYZ. I think this is just Sony being Sony, and this has been happening since
He just wants his
the
remaster.
Dreamcast.
I just wants his remaster.
Yeah, that's all Quang wants. He just wants his remaster.
I'm actually, let the record show, for more reasons for people to hate me. I'm not a big From Software fan. I'm not into the blood. What is it? The Soulborn types. Uh,
Souls like.
yeah. Dark Souls 1 hurt me, and I haven't forgiven them for it yet, just quite yet.
No, I mean, I think that's kind of fair in that, that type of game is very much not for everyone.
I heard that like after Dark Souls 2, they fixed because I don't mind that the game's hard. That's fine. I like getting skill checked. I like getting like a little upset at the game and coming back to it, getting all the rewards. But the fact that Dark Souls 1, I just got lost, and there was no real. It really felt like there was no real way for me to get back on track. Because I spent so much time, I just got like really bored really quickly. And then it happened again, partway through Dark Souls 2. Though that, I, to be fair, I was already like, if this is like anything like Dark Souls 1, I'm noping out real quick.
Get that
So I
old-
might have not given it the chance that it deserved. But I hear Sekiro is really good and something that I would like. I heard Elden Ring. Elden Ring looks like a lot of fun. Just I haven't had the time in the last year or two to actually delve into that game.
Mm.
When I've barely gotten through Act 1 of Baldur's Gate.
I
So-
didn't mention it this time. I didn't
No,
bring it up.
No, I'm saying that. I'm just saying that
still haven't
me.
finished
That's
it.
like basically all the extra, like sit down, enjoy narrative time that I've had is basically Act 1 of Baldur's Gate
No, I get
this
that.
year. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful for the future games. That's really
So side quest. Imagine
Side quest for what?
Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh,
We
Jesus Christ.
just commit like 3 months of our lives to completing Baldur's Gate 3 on side
all of a
quests.
sudden this podcast will be the side quest. That's what's gonna happen.
This is this is the side quest.
I think my main worry with the acquisition, and again, this is if it goes through, because From Software might just say no. That, like, we have not had a confirmation. It's been acknowledged, and that is it. Is if Sony do get majority shares, my one concern would be how harsh would Sony then be on, let's say, a deadline? Because we do know
Well-
Sony have a track record of really liking to hit that Christmas market, really like hitting that Game Awards market.
Well, at this
So
point, it feels like it's going to happen either way because either FromSoft is going to accept their current offer right now, or if they say no for whatever reason, Sony's probably just going to be like, "Oh, that other 85% of shares, we'll take that. We'll buy that out. No problem."
Preach.
So, I mean, I think either way they're going to get it. It's just how From Software wants to handle it.
it's a rough one. It's a really it's very much a double-edged sword, and I think a lot of people were in the same mindset when Bethesda was acquired by Microsoft.
Yeah.
And obviously that ended up going pretty well in our favor. The difference here being is, Sony are a bit less lenient with outsourcing their IPs and giving them away as such to different platforms. So this could end up getting a lot more people buying PlayStation, and I imagine that's sort of what the end goal is. If we make it exclusive to ours, more of you are going to buy our consoles, and
Yeah, the
you
new
know,
Xbox has not. What is it? The Pro,
yeah,
or the PlayStation Pro has not been.
Well, notice they usually do this around holiday times too.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I'm
you
going.
ever notice that?
I go back and forth on it. It's kind of hard to say because it's all speculation. Because
Mm.
it could also straight up be, even though they're majority shareholder. Once again, this is purely to play devil's advocate. Purely could just be Sony's like, nah, we actually really like what's going on over here. We just want to dump money into it and make money afterwards. Have fun.
No,
Because
quite
people
possibly.
do that. People do that all the time, right? That is a
Yeah.
standard. I was gonna say shark move, but that's Shark Tank really got me in the head. Venture capitalist thing, right? Sometimes they're not great at running the company, but they're really good at doing the product stuff. And you're like, here, let me buy you out. Just take majority of shares. You keep some of the shares. We'll keep you on staff. Don't worry about the business side of things. Just here's money to do that, to do what you're doing, right?
I
And
wish we got
don't
that.
change anything. Which would be like best case scenario, right? Nothing changes. And PlayStation still denies all the remakes and remasters that everyone's been asking for.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, we'll see.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. No, we're not gonna know anything for at least a couple more weeks, I imagine. I will be keeping my ear to the ground, so once Krat knows, it'll come up on an episode of XP Share, I'm sure. But you know, it is potentially a shift in the gaming space. But speaking of the gaming space, a big event's coming up, and FromSoft are also involved in that as well, and it's also a little bit controversial. And actually, this
I
one,
love the EGOTs.
I
Now what?
can't believe we're gonna say this, but I think me and Quay might actually agree this episode on
Oh, I mean, we
something.
talked a little bit. You and I talked about it a little bit.
We talked about it a
Off.
little bit,
Yeah, and
but
I will once again play devil's advocate, and I know that we agree that it's stupid. Because as I'm sitting here staring at this webpage, trying to find the devil's advocate angle,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
But yeah, no, go ahead, CJ.
What
I'm
up, Jay?
sorry.
no, it's welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Game Awards season. You know, the time of
Yeah.
year where we realize, all of that game that you released a couple of months ago, that's just so you could get a trophy, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah, that's why you did. That's why you held it off, didn't
That's
it?
why you did it, you little
That's why you
slut.
did
That's why
that.
you
All
did it.
makes sense now. Now, obviously, there are all of the nominees for all of the categories have been released, and in theory, we could go down the entire list and give our thoughts if we wanted to. I'm not sure how far we'd get because it's a bit of a long list, and I know Faker's
Yeah.
somewhere on here, and I kind of want to get past that before Quang goes on his fucking
I don't.
soapbox.
I mean, he's won it multiple times already, so I don't think. I don't
No,
think.
but
Oh nope, he is
well,
on there. That's
yeah,
crazy.
he's on there. He's on there. I checked. That's
I
the
wouldn't vote for him.
yeah.
Just so you know, he's
But
had a rough year.
obviously, the big if he's had a rough year, why is he your best protagonist?
Because he still won. That's the
You know,
problem.
you know who
He
else?
had a whole arc.
You know who else had a rough year? Joel. He was on your fucking list at all.
Yeah, but Joel didn't
Um,
win in the end. He lost.
he won in the
God.
first one.
Wait.
Technically, anyway.
Spoilers.
It's been out for over 10 years.
Spoilers.
But yeah, obviously the big one, the Game of the Year category. There are some decent nominations in here. Black Myth Wukong, very good game, deserves to
Yep.
be here. Astrobot, very good game. You know, a real nice callback to a good old fashioned PlayStation platformer, which I quite like. I think
I'm
that one might be
excited
getting my
that
vote.
Balatro is on there. I didn't realize that it had so much hype behind it.
Mm,
Mainly because I bought it on release and have been playing it just kind of in the background for a
yeah.
long time. But it's a really fun mix into the roguelike genre.
What I've learned about Balatro is either you think it deserves to be on this list or you've never heard of it. Those are the only two types of
Yeah.
people I've met in
Oh
the
no, I
last
mean
week
I'm
or
just
so.
surprised. I'm surprised it's on there, but I'm happy that it's on there. It might be the one game that if you just had like nobody's talking about anything, just the gameplay in the background, it really hits that ASMR tick in the brain. It just has very satisfying noises,
Mhm.
which is
God.
it's also not like super expensive on Steam.
No,
So if
it's
you
not.
want to check it out, it's fun.
And it's also on mobile as well, which where
Yeah.
I've been playing it. I just kind of
Yeah.
have it on my phone every now and again. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
I'll
it's $15 on Steam. Yeah.
do a couple antis of Balatro, why not? The other games that are on this list, Metaphor Refantasio, which again is a game that not everyone may have heard of, but it's a very good RPG. I didn't play it myself. It's
It's
not
on my list.
my kind of thing particularly when I go for an RPG game, but I know it was very well received and a lot of people very much enjoyed it. So you know what? I'm more than happy for that to be on this list. And then there's the other two. Um,
Oh, there was a
there's
I
the
best
other
like.
esports
two.
athlete.
I will. I'm ready to defend one more than the other. Once
No,
again, I do think
I
both of them are
imagine.
stupid, but
Mm.
uh
But
uh yeah. Do you want which one do you want to go for first?
the two. Well, I'll say the controversial one. And then we'll probably start with the one you're more okay with, because I feel like that's
Yeah,
there are arguments to be made why that could be on this list, and then it's just a matter of
yeah.
semantics. The other one is horseshit, and I refuse. But um, the two biggest controversial, I should say, picks for Game of the Year are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is the remake of Final Fantasy VII. If you don't know what words mean. And Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, which is a DLC. Now let's start with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Um, my initial take on it would be it's a remake of a game. Like it's a full on remaster. It's a remaster. So I would prefer for an original title to
So
be on this list.
it's a remaster versus DLC for Game of the Year.
Basically, is what we're looking at. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I my I think
Yes.
FF7 Rebirth. I think it's enough. There's enough differences. I don't know if I'd put a game of the year. I might allow it to sneak into literally every other category it is in. I don't know if it deserves game of the year. But the game is different
Other
enough,
than graphic stuff.
they redid the story a little bit to include a lot of the optional characters. They added voice acting. They added CGs for a lot of scenes that didn't have CGs. They added some gameplay mechanics. There's a lot that is different. Also, they redid the music and yeah, it just goes into depth more. Like they added more to the story. Um,
No, I will
so
grant.
yeah,
I'll grant that, like, obviously, I it. Here's the other thing: is obviously we don't get nearly enough remasters every year for it to be its own category.
sure, yeah,
I will concede on that, and I will accept that like Final Fantasy VII is like the rebirth. It's not just we gave it a fresh coat of paint. It's not like the Last of Us remaster where they
yeah,
literally just upscaled it to 4K and re-released it.
yeah,
A lot of work and time has gone into this, and it is. I'd argue like it's that extra step that the Spyro
Yeah.
Reignited trilogy kind of the Spyro Reignited trilogy obviously looks completely different and plays very different, but you can feel the old game beneath all the makeup and stuff. This definitely, if you played Final Fantasy VII, the original versus this, the story is obviously the same, but gameplay wise, they are different games. I will accept that. I think my only thing is I prefer original titles to be here, but
Oh, I
I'm
agree.
willing to concede a little bit. Juice, what do you think?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is pretty spot on. There are times you see remasters where, yeah, like it's definitely not like you said, just a fresh coat of paint, and I can appreciate that. I mean, next year Metal Gear Solid is getting that remake, and Delta isn't going to be a fresh coat of paint. It's going to be the same. It's going to be Snake Eater, but they are changing the like the mechanics of the game as well. So now it begs the question of does that now count for Game of the Year? Towards the end of next year, which yeah, whatever. But yeah, in general, I would prefer to see original titles. I mean, it just feels better. I mean, add a new
Yeah,
category and maybe, and like within that category, like you said, that we're not getting a ton of remasters. So I don't know if maybe there's just a category where you can kind of bundle those things together, right? I don't know what you would call it, but something that would, involve DLC, remasters,
Regurgence.
remakes. Yeah,
my
and
The
then throw
regurg
throw Destiny in there. Destiny's always
Yeah.
doing new
the
shit.
Regurgence Award.
My
Yeah.
so I would argue that this is like a remake of a movie being nominated for an Emmy or a grant. What is the Oscars? Sorry, I watch
Yes,
award shows. I promise.
something
I
like that.
That one with the trophy and the gold.
the gold guy. That's definitely all the merits are in the act. But like you put new actors in, it's new performances. You animate it differently. There's enough going into it that once again I agree. If there was a fresh game, uh, there I'd probably be a little bit happier. Um,
But I'm not offended by it. It's not like
yeah,
I'm not up in arms of like why the fuck is like I can see the argument, even though I may not agree with it. There is a very valid argument as to
Yeah.
why Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is on there, and you know what? Fair enough, because I know a lot of people. I've got a friend Tammy who has been raving about the game all year, so you know what? Fair enough. What doesn't fucking deserve to be here? The DLC pack for a game that already got Game of the Year.
okay.
2 years ago.
Hold
Yeah.
on, before we go into it, because I have been in the lab cooking some defenses.
Oh, here we
Um,
go.
try like really sitting here thinking about it. How big of a DLC is it? Because there are some DLCs that might as well just be another game.
Let me get the stats. Let me get the stats for you.
If it's yeah. I think it doesn't change my opinion in the greater scheme of things, but
Quine's over
kind of
here
bringing
like expansion or DLC. It doesn't matter, but
yeah, I'm just like I let me just like bring it closer, just try to bring this close to the center as just like the devil's advocate guy, right? I'm trying to make arguments for it to be there.
okay. All right. So I've got. If you want to just do the story of the
Sure.
DLC, it's 15 to 25 hours.
Okay.
If you want to 100% complete the DLC, it is apparently 50 hours plus. And that's including collecting every new item, completing every side quest. Literally, like if you want to if you want to platinum the DLC, it's apparently 50 hours, maybe a little more.
What about the base game? Isn't the base game like 50 hours, 60 hours?
Let me have a.
I'm assuming you can get that stat
Okay.
quickly. Yeah.
Yep. It's literally linked to this article. If you want to do the critical stuff, so if you want to do the core game
Yeah.
of Elden Ring, it is 50 to 70 hours. If you want to complete like 100% complete it,
Yeah.
apparently it is like somewhere between 90 and 110 hours.
Okay.
If you want to see and if you're a highly skilled player, you can complete it in under 20 hours according to this little pop-up that I've had. But I'm
Sure.
looking at about 59 to 60 hours
Oh, so cheesy.
to
What
complete the
the
game without 100%ing it. If you want 100% it, it's 110.
Yeah,
Good
okay.
luck with that.
So, but like, okay. So if it was like 80% of the game, right? Game time wise, if it's like 80%, maybe, right? That's basically a whole. That might as well be Elden Ring 2 at that point with like save carryover. I don't know. That was my best shot, guys.
Here, right. Right. Because I kind of get where people are coming from. They're wrong, but I kind of get their perspective on things in that, like,
Oh, yeah.
this is basically the size of a whole other game, right?
But kind of.
I get that. I mean, I'm looking at that time like 15 to 25 hours. Yeah, if I got a game that was 15, 25 hours to get to the ending, not 100% to just get into the ending, I'd be really happy with that. That's a lot of game. Like, I know we're in a very saturated day of game, but like that's a lot of game. Considering how much time most people have to game these days, that could keep you going for at least a month.
Sure.
And if you wanna like 100% complete it, obviously looking at the sort of 50-hour range, Elden Ring isn't the kind of game I would go for completion on, but again, that's a lot of game. That's fine. I'm more than okay with that. The issue I've got with it is like you've not really made a new game though, because you know, yeah, some of the bosses might have different mechanics, some of the weapons and armor and spells have different effects and mechanics that you've had to go. But the majority of the game has already been done, and already I think this is the other thing that pisses me off. This game already won Game of the Year award. They already did it. So of course it's going to be Game of the Year award like technology. Of course it's going to be Game of the Year award material because you're basing it off of something that already did that. That's like saying if you create a piece of art that is based entirely off of the Mona Lisa, yeah, it's going to be fucking good because you're basing it off of one of the best pieces of art ever made. I don't feel like it's a fair thing to have a DLC, regardless of such, because I also know that there was contention because people wanted The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine DLC to be Game of the Year, and that was again a massive DLC. That was a DLC that was so big that now when you boot up The Witcher 3, it gives you an option to just like start the game at level 20 so you could just do the Blood and Wine DLC and have that be your gaming experience. Like, and that's great, but I feel like it's not. We need to acknowledge that as good as a DLC is, it is a DLC. You can't just buy Shadow of the Erdtree on its own and not then have Elden Ring. Like, you need Elden Ring to be able to experience it. It's not a standalone thing. I think that's the biggest thing. As much as I disagree with Final Fantasy VII being on this list, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a standalone on its own 2 feet thing. You take away Elden Ring, you don't have Shadow of the Erdtree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I disagree with it. I do think we need a DLC category now.
I
Because
think a DLC category would also make sense. There's so many great DLCs that come out year after year.
Yeah.
I'm and like it could also just be like a more vague cat. It doesn't have to be like specific of like, oh, I really like this story. Maybe they introduce like gameplay mechanics that are really interesting. Like really change up, basically have a category that defines like, oh, this is how much it changed the original gameplay experience. Because some DLCs, you just play and it's just like, oh, it's more of the same stuff. It's fun, because I like the game, but it doesn't wow me.
If you don't mind, I'll just, when people are wondering, hey, how large could that category be? In 2024, just name you a few games that had DLC, right? Destiny 2,
Yep.
Alan Wake 2, Elden Ring, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 14, Elder Scrolls Online, Sonic X Shadow Generation, Black Myth Wukong, Helldivers 2, Dragon Age, Star Wars Outlaws apparently had DLC. You could definitely have a category. You 100% can have a category for it.
no, absolutely. And then I think that's an interesting conversation because then we are in the position of what do we value in a DLC? Do we want just more of the same good stuff? Do we want new mechanics? It starts a really interesting conversation on what makes a good DLC and what doesn't, and that can put games in a really good position
And
because
we can
people are
be
saying,
mad about something else. Let's
yeah.
go.
Because it's like, well, it is like, hey, this DLC did really well. What did that DLC do? Okay, let's then put that in our DLC next year and try and win the award. It might bring more value to DLC because people want to win that fucking award.
Yeah. Ooh, Space Marine 2. Apparently, that was DLC? That counts as DLC?
Yeah, I do think
they had a DLC, I think.
they
Oh,
might have a
okay.
DLC. I guess
That game was
we would have
fantastic.
to then make the establishment of like what is considered DLC versus an expansion pass or a live service update or whatever. But
Yeah.
we can figure out what we want the bridge to look like after we built the fucking bridge.
Well,
MK1, there you go. Because
Can I-
that like
Well-
Ghostface and Homelander.
Sorry, this just popped up for me.
What?
Did you know that the Final Fantasy VII remake was also back in 2020 was nominated as Game of the Year?
Wait, really?
Yeah, the remake
wow.
was
Wait,
nominated.
Wait, so Is it? Wait, is it an episodic game?
No,
Saga?
no, the Rebirth is a completely redone. The remake was literally just like
There was a remake, and then now there's Rebirth.
Rebirth. Yeah, remake
Right.
was just a
Okay.
remake of the original, basically.
Right. Okay. All
And
right.
then I which makes less. Like the only difference that they did was alter the way that their turn-based system kind of worked, but that
Mm,
was more to fit the 3D. It it I, that's dumb, but I
yep.
like this better. I like this nomination better than that one.
Yeah. No, that's. I think it's a dumb nomination, and I think that people. Yeah. I would argue that if you're up in arms about the Rebirth nomination, like I'm with you, but I don't think it's necessarily like an important thing. Like I think we can people being up in arms about the Elden Ring DLC being Game of the Year. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Give me a fucking pitchfork. Let's go. Um, we do obviously have other categories: best game direction. See, Shadow of the Tree again is there. It's like it's a really hard one because
The thing
again,
is,
like
like,
I don't know enough about game direction to
yeah,
argue yes or no for that one. Yeah, I don't, because I could see a better argument for game direction for
I could
DLC
also
stuff.
see that. I think that's where I'm at.
But also have a very limited understanding of what game directing actually means in any sense of that word. The same way that like a producer or a director, how those work in TV and movie.
Yeah, I guess the other situation we would then have is like, well, if DLC are eligible for Game of the Year, then DLC should be eligible in theory for every
Everything. Yeah.
category, and then that just even further saturates. Right, well, the DLC had good music, so the DLC gets best music, and then we've got so much more to comb through.
Do we
Like, it's hard. It's
question
a really hard argument. Yeah.
how much do people uh how much do people put value into game of the year awards?
mean, value.
Like like theoretically in for like EGOT situations, it just increases that artist's salary by so much, right? Like being nominated, it increases an actor's salary, for example, by a hefty amount. I think I heard like 10 to 20%, and then winning it is like another 10 to 20% on top of that. So there's like a lot of incentive to win.
Mm.
But like, do people, just because the Gamer Awards have always been kind of like weird, and it really feels like there's controversy every year. Like, did you know that Multiverses is up again for best fighting game of the year?
I mean, that's a bit more valid because it actually
They won
released
it
this
already
year, but they've already. It is a weird. It's a fucking weird one.
because they decided
Um,
to call the year that they won a beta test and not the actual release of the game.
I mean, I guess that does raise a question. I don't know anything
What
about
you're
game
saying.
development, so I wouldn't know. But like, I get, does the team behind the game who got it get like a bonus if they get Game of the Year awards? Because I know it would definitely put stock in the company. Obviously,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure. Yeah.
once a game starts getting Game of the Year awards, like Larian got Game of the Year at Baldur's Gate 3. If Larian are making another game currently. That game is gonna sell because it's a Larian get there. The people that made Baldur's Gate 3, they make good games.
Yeah.
Like, we know that now. That's why Cyberpunk 2077 was so hyped. It wasn't just because it was a Cyberpunk game. It's because it's the guys that made The Witcher 3, which was Game of the Year. They're making Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
So,
but I feel like it's like the general masses, right? We don't like we know that Myth Wukong was a good game because a lot of us have played Black Myth Wukong and was like, "Damn, this game's real good." It, and whether or not they win Game of the Year will affect nobody. Like as far as like the general public goes, right? This so other than to like drum up some conversation about certain things. I don't know. Game of the Year awards, the Gamer Awards have always felt a little bit disconnected from the actual gaming communities.
I
To
I
me,
think game I think
I can say
specifically the
that.
Game of the Year award category I would agree with. I do think there are some categories where like best audio design, Hellblade 2, for example, and not necessarily the category, but if you do start seeing that, oh, this game won this award, this award, this award, this award, that
Sure.
may entice people to go out and look at those games and see if they want to spend a bit of money on it, whether it's on sale or anything like that. So I think the awards as a whole, I think there is stock in. I think it can advertise some
Sure.
games, like particularly indie games. But then it is then the situation of, well, if you're gonna do an award show, you kind of have to have a Game of the Year category, because
yeah,
it'd be kind of weird if you didn't. Like if we had a film award in Hollywood, but we didn't announce what the best film of the year was, it would be kind of weird.
I
So
I guess my thing is that the thing about the EGOTs is that I feel like the majority of the people who are consuming those products, those whether it's movies, music, TV shows, other things, those the common folk aren't necessarily the experts, I guess, which is true for a lot of game stuff. But when it comes to like what we like and what we think is a good game and what we think is a bad game, like I'm never going to buy a game because the company won a best game of the year award or best game direction,
no, but
right? Because I'm the same reason
that's not
why
what
I
it's there
wasn't
for,
excited for
though.
Silent Hill 2 because they removed what was his name?
Jack.
The
What?
Toyama? Was it
Someone
Toyama
said something.
that directed the first ones?
I don't remember.
And then he
Nobody
left
knows,
Konami.
bro.
He left Konami before the new Silent Hill games were coming out. Either way, like I'm more attached to the names of the like people who are actually creating it, regardless of Game of the Year, Game of the whatnot, right?
I
Those
don't.
awards.
The thing is, I don't think that's the case for the majority of people.
Okay,
And B, more than anything, like that's not
I
what
could
the
just be
Game
old.
Awards.
That's true.
That's not what the Game Awards are for. That like I think that's the ultimate thing. Is it's a publicity event. Like
Yeah.
I sometimes you just got to remember. Like think about the celebrities that they're gonna get in to announce the Game Awards, right? That's what they're doing it for.
Sure. Yeah,
It's a
that's fair.
participation trophy.
Like it's there to drum up money, and if let's say uh the development team do get a bit of a bonus for making Game of the Year, like, let's say for
Shows me
example in the world in which, From Software was already acquired by Sony, and then Shadow of the Tree did win Game of the Year. I imagine Sony would give them a bit of a bonus. It's like a pat on the back, well done. Because we've seen companies do that before. Of like, oh, if you get this, that, and if we get a certain rating, I think there was actually like a new Fallout New Vegas when that came out. There was a bit of a controversy back in the day because the team got told if you get 85 overall on the rating, you'll get your Christmas bonus, and they got an 83 and they didn't get it.
Nah,
Ooh.
So
rip.
it's one of those things where it's all done for publicity. It's all done to get into the mainstream. Because let's be honest, like if you do win Game of the Year, it does get your game out a little bit to the mainstream, and they're the people you're trying to do this for. You're trying to win the awards for the people that haven't heard of your game. Because let's not forget the majority of people who are going to be reading the news articles the next day. Oh, this thing won Game of the Year award. Even if you don't buy the game, you're getting clicks, and you're up in
Sure.
all your analytics over the internet because you won Game of the Year. Like it's not just about Because you wouldn't be nominated for Game of the Year if you didn't already have the sales. You've already made your money from that game.
Exactly.
True.
Or
I mean,
DLC.
it's all about the future stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for trailers for new games to say winner of like for FromSoft, winner of Game of the Year.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like you said, it's like you're not.
Yeah.
If you're not already making the sales, you're obviously not going to have a game of the year in the first place.
Mm,
Yeah, that's fair.
but
Uh,
no, it's interesting. I think there's. I mean, there's some categories on here that are best audio. Best audio design. You got Hellblade 2. You've got best score in music. Like I've never heard of Stellar Blade. I can tell I'm gonna look that up later. Like there are some things here I can see. Yeah, I'm probably gonna look this up afterwards. Um, it's best narrative. Having Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'd feel a little bit iffy on. You telling me that they have changed it? That's fair enough.
they've changed it a little bit. I'm also a little bit weirded by that. Is it a good narrative? For sure.
I'm surprised that Tekken didn't take the fighting game one. Honestly,
What? Oh, I'm surprised. Wait, what one? Here, hold on.
you said
I
multiverse one, didn't it?
no, Multiverses
No,
has
it was 2 years ago.
two.
So who won this year?
They haven't happened
yeah.
yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
So these are just the nominations.
I would imagine that Sparking Zero should win, as far as fighting games go. God, that game looks so good. At least on like a single player side too, which generally these types of games are the fighting game
yeah,
genre
Marvel and
has leaned towards.
Capcom's on there.
Yeah, Sparking Zero is kind of insane because it's also they have all the Budokai storylines in the one game and a bunch of what if stories in the one game.
Jesus.
So there's just a lot of content in Sparking Zero.
Mm.
Also
Yeah.
beautifully animated. Everything I hear, the online's great. Everyone has a lot of fun with it. Tekken 8's not that case at all.
See,
You don't
I've got
think
A lot
it's
of
gonna
people are
get it?
very mad about Tekken 8.
mm,
Yikes.
I've got real mixed feelings about WWE 2K24 being on best sports racing game because all the years where I would have wanted to see it nominated for the best and it wasn't, and now they've nominated it this year, and I'm like, yeah, but it was kind of shit this year, so I don't think I'm gonna vote for it. The game has been out since March. The servers still don't work. It's great. It's fucking great. Brilliant.
Wait, at least we get to vote for Fortnite this year as every
Why
year.
do they?
So
Why do they have to separate sports and racing? Why can't they actually like put them in two different categories?
Probably because there's not enough games out.
Oh, I mean,
Like,
the fighting game community has had a problem with this, where they'll put beat 'em ups in the best fighting game categories every
like
now and again.
Sifu.
Like Sifu was the most egregious. I've never been
Oh
more
my
upset.
God.
That was the year that thank God Multiverses won that year. I'm going to say it, as mad as I am that they won. Thank God that Sifu did not win in both action
I
and fighting game. I would have
I will
lost my
agree with
shit.
you. I will agree with you on that because Sifu was an amazing game. It's not a fucking fighting game.
Yeah, I would have been so. Oh, people were already mad that Multiverses was on there, and then they're like, no, at least that, like,
Yeah.
at least it is a fighting game technically.
Just because your game's about fighting doesn't make it a fighting game. Just because GTA was about racing, it doesn't make it a fucking racing game.
I will
Yeah,
say
right.
the one category before because I have to go.
Yeah, we are very, very short on time.
It's holiday time and I have to be places. I will say the one category that I think is kind of bullshit that I'm really upset exists is the most anticipated game award.
Especially the hyper war. What is that? Hold on, let me have a look.
It is
at what-
literally a who has the best marketing
Yeah.
award.
me
God, is
see.
that right down the bottom?
Because it's it's at the bottom. It's Ghost of Yotei, Grand Theft Auto 6, Monster Hunter
Bro,
Wilds,
GTA
Metro
6 is
Prime 4.
winning that. There's no competition.
Yeah, GTA 6 is
Oh,
winning
I
that.
think Yotei might
No,
have a chance.
No.
no, because the amount of people who haven't played Ghost of Tsushima because it was a PlayStation exclusive that don't care.
Yeah. I think Ghost of Yotei is going to be fire, and I'm going to buy it 100%. But GTA is a generational game.
Here's the thing: Ghost of Yotei has been talked about since it got announced, and absolutely, GTA 6 has been talked about since about 2 years after GTA 5 released.
I mean, if we're gonna go by time, Metro Prime 4 is a game that people have been wanting forever. Like,
Metroid Prime 4.
There you
I
go.
don't even remember when 3 came out.
You know what? I'm surprised Silk Song's not on this fucking list. That's
But
a
yeah,
game that people have been waiting for.
yeah, Metro Prime 3 came out in 2007. We haven't had a Samus game since.
It should have been Half-Life 3, exactly.
I don't know.
We
I'm
have Half-Life 3. I'm dying on this hill, bro. No, we gotta end before I have a fight. with
I'm
Gav.
gonna say I like Metroid Prime because Metroid Prime is also one of the first games that introduced the two-stick strafing, two-stick movement, one for camera, one for character movement. They're one of the first games to do it. Granted, they did it on one of the shittiest controllers ever made. That I still use today. Is the beautiful GameCube controller.
Oh my god.
Where you used this tiny little nub to control your camera. What an awful
Oh
game
my
design.
god.
Bruh.
What an awful game design. Or controller design, not game design. Controller design, awful.
One of these days, Nintendo will work out what a human hand looks like and build a controller around that
Yeah.
instead. One of
No.
these days, because they either do
No.
alien probing device or Square. I've never seen anything else. from
They have the
Nintendo.
Pro Controller.
The Pro controller is like fine. But
Yeah, they have the Pro Controller.
the development team, I have a very pretty Pro controller.
I like
The Pro
when
controller
Quang's
is
the one that
fine.
has to go and he's the one going on
Yeah.
a tangent.
Oh my god. No, it's because I'm upset, okay? I'm upset that Nintendo's fucking controller design team is made up of 3 aliens that have tentacle farms and need to figure out how to hit 3 buttons at the same time.
Well,
As a
you know
Nintendo
what?
kitty. I'm
Yeah.
leaving.
You know what this is telling me? I'd say in 4 weeks when we do our last episode of the year, we just let's make it official. The Crap Media Game Awards are happening.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
each one of us comes up with a
my God.
category.
Well,
3 nominees. And then
I mean, people could also hop into Discord and maybe suggest some categories for us to vote on.
yeah,
I
but
don't know.
we are the panel.
Oh,
You have
shit.
to pay us off.
Yeah.
You have to pay us off to get your game.
Well, they suggest categories. So we have an episode on the 8th. So I think after the episode on the 8th, we can decide what categories we're all going to do. And then on December 22nd, for our last episode of the year before Christmas and New Year's, let's have a game awards and let's nominate some things and give some awards. And no one will fucking
Yeah.
care but us. And it will be glorious.
Yep. I'm down with this. It's happening.
Let's do it. So hop in the
Yeah.
Discord. Everybody hop in the Discord. Start suggesting categories for us to vote for. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hop on the Discord. Justin will link it in the description. Now you have to do that, Justin. Have fun. And something like and subscribe.
Yeah.
07. I'm gonna go hang out with pretty people.
Wow.
There we go.
What the fuck are we?
I mean, Juice is
I'm
in
a banana, bro.
Hey, Juice
Come
is a
on.
banana costume. You don't get more beautiful than that.
I'm leaving.
Come on, dude.
Gone.
Well,
We'll
I'm
see you on
banana.
Wednesday.
Episode 38. Deuces, guys.
Peace.